I told him a lot about you that I know. Love your books, man. Of course, I
Thank you.
still have them, and so he had a chance to take a little bit, some of your background, the bio, and had a chance to just read a little bit about you. So, having you on the show, I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about what you do, how you began, and then Kareem will take over and he'll ask questions as he see fit or as he has them. So,
My pleasure.
and
Well,
he'll
first of all, I
ask
got to say
questions if he.
welcome. Thank you for stopping in. I'm a
My
California guy
apologies again.
myself. So I know LA. I grew up in Fresno. I went to school in Santa Barbara.
Woo!
I lived in
Thank you.
LA, right off the
Uh,
405 in Centinela,
oh,
up the street
don't say those letters. Don't say those letters.
up the street from Eminem Soul Food, right? Okay.
Okay.
I lived out in Valencia before I bounced out here. So like I'm with you there, man.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been rough for Cali.
Saying those three numbers is almost like saying Beetlejuice three times.
Yeah, it is, man.
Something bad is gonna happen.
Yeah, we're not gonna say him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're excited about this. I mean, you see, me and Siva T have been putting this together, talking about comic books, and right off the bat, like we had a lot of excitement to have you coming on. So I kind of checked you out. You have two entities that you do, right?
I do way more than that.
Okay.
That's why I mentioned to Brother TT that I got a lot more hopping off recently. So yeah, but those are my two. I call them my vanguards.
Your vanguards, okay. And we got the Roach, and we got
Yes.
Menthu. Okay, all right.
This dude.
Okay, there it is. Okay. Now this guy, I seen the description on this guy was more of like a detective, kind of assassin, right? Give me a feel for what he's like.
He is an anti-hero set in Prohibition Chicago, and he kills the bad guys dead.
Yes. Okay.
But he's more, the story is more complex than that, because I look at it as an opportunity to play around with present day situations we're dealing with. But it's always easier if you talk about sexism or racism, or how the top 0.1% are ripping off everybody else. It's easier to do that when you put it in the past,
Right.
or you put it on a foreign planet, or you put it way in the future, or something like that.
Yeah.
So a bit of the story's background. Wrote it when I was in college. It turned out it was in a literary magazine, so it was strictly prose.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most popular thing the 4 semesters that it was played in that literary magazine. It was called Manuscripts.
Okay.
I knew I had something about the character when my senior year, they had begged me to do something. I wasn't taking the class anymore. I did it for a class, basically.
Mm-hmm.
In the class, I got an A, and they said, publish this, and it turned from there. So I was going to the cafeteria, and I played on Butler's football team. So, a lot of people knew me.
Mm.
And walking through the cafeteria, and a table of a dozen football players, all like freshmen, sophomores, whatever. He said, Robert, come over. That's not unusual, because I was a senior. I was on the team. I was a 4-year letterman, so they knew me. And I walk over and wondering what they want. And they said, we got a question.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what? Is it, does Roach live or die? I was like, what? And yeah, they're having a debate.
Yeah.
Because since I left it as a cliffhanger,
Right.
half the table is like the Roach dies
Mm-hmm.
because of this.
Right.
And the other half is the Roach lives because of this, and this.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the hell? I said, none of these dudes read for pleasure.
Right. Okay.
None of these guys do anything outside of class with a book in their hand.
Right.
And they've all read, the thing had just come out that morning. They've all read this 10-page story by noon.
Yes.
In addition to their classwork and all that stuff.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the heck?
Yes.
So I knew it was a story that resonated.
Yeah.
However, Roach is a white guy,
Okay.
and his world, Chicago, tends to be white, especially in terms of the power structure
Mm-hmm.
at that time period.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coming up with an idea for the graphic novel, I was not comfortable with this. And
Okay.
I wasn't uncomfortable about writing a character. The character was fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
I was uncomfortable about the first outing of this character nationwide with no black folks in it.
Right. Right.
I'm black, and
Yeah.
I don't have any problem writing a white character.
Mm-hmm.
I think as a black man, the way that we know how to code switch makes us eminently qualified to write about cultures outside of ourselves.
Right.
More so than other have the ability to write about us.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any problem writing about the character.
Right. Okay.
My problem is ain't no black folks in it, and I can't let the first one be like that.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Maybe the second or the
Mhm.
third,
Mhm.
cool, but not the first.
Yeah.
And so when I finally came up with a way to incorporate some solid characters in it, one was a bad guy.
Mhm.
He was a preacher stealing in the name of the Lord. Well, he's a fake one, so that's what he was doing. And he was a compelling character too. But I couldn't let the one black guy in the story be bad.
Right. Yeah.
The counterbalance.
Yes.
And I came up with a character that I named after my great uncle and my uncle. His name was Willie McKinley in the story. And he was a former black doughboy from World War I. And that gave me a chance to talk about black soldiers' contributions in World War I, something that we often overlook.
Right, most definitely.
And got into, like, a lot of people know the Harlem Hellfighters, and they were the 369th, but they don't know the 370th that was strictly out of Chicago. There was like the 368 out of Florida. There are a bunch of these, I call them warriors, because they were not only freeing white Europe from its own fascism, they had to come back and fight the wars here because 1919 was Bloody Summer. And folks don't know about Bloody Summer, what happened in Chicago, drowning the boy who wandered, they said he wandered, into the quote unquote white area of the lake, where you can have a white area of the lake. We're not even going into that. Okay, yeah. This part of Lake Michigan is white, and this part it's insane. But that's what happened, and these soldiers had to return to that, and it gave us a chance to talk about history. Why was jazz so popular in France? Jazz was so popular in France because so many black doughboys said, screw it, I'm not going back to America and all that crazy. And they went AWOL and stayed in France. And they started to import jazz to France to the point where it became the most popular entertainment there. So the Roach, even though it's about this character, and I'm not trying to make him black. I'm trying to make him understand the lives of black people.
Right. And
thereby give this type of history and this type of introspection a chance to have legs in this story. So that gives you a good idea about what the Roach is.
You know, it's interesting, Siva T. We always talk about history as an influence on whatever material you're consuming, written in the past, written now. Tell me what because you had to identify with that era to be able to talk about it. And then it's always good to hear, like, you've thrown so much history at both of us right now. I know my head was spinning. I'm like, you know what? Every time you think you're starting to get a handle on something, your own ignorance, right, comes rearing back in this form of history. Siva T, what are your thoughts on that?
Again, we've shared many conversations on how important history plays, right, in characters.
Always.
Right? That right there, man, it'll tell you, because that really lets you know exactly what was going on during that time. See? And that's exactly what he did. So I'm all for it, right? I'm all for the Freedom Hell Fighters. I'm all for, right, what was going on during the Vietnam War. I'm off of my uncle served in Vietnam. Okay, so
my uncle did too.
Yeah,
My Uncle Willie.
thank you. See, it's real serious, right? But of course, what we know about Vietnam, right? It was a war that nobody liked, right? It was a war that people. Okay, so he didn't talk a lot about it, but that should have shown a lot of respect towards the people, man, because they lost so much during that war, right?
Yes.
Okay, and coming
Yes.
home, man,
And
right?
came back just
Thank
treated
you.
like trash.
Thank you. Okay, and out of that adversity, characters come. See?
Yes.
Out
Very
of
much so.
adversity, man, you come back home to people, man, who hate your guts.
Yeah. For doing your duty. You were drafted.
Yes.
People
Right,
forget
I mean,
people
you
forget that
understand
the draft even existed. Well, why didn't you just stay home? How many okay, we're gonna get into history now. Go ahead,
A little
John.
bit, yeah, right.
Right.
Right,
How many
Yeah.
draft dodgers,
Right.
how many draft card burners
Yeah.
were black? And how many were white?
Mm-hmm.
When people want to talk about white privilege and does it exist, and if it doesn't exist or whatever, okay, we can have that debate. We can have it. But this is one example where it's clear.
Yeah.
These guys who were in college or whatever were principally white because they could afford it.
Yeah.
Poor black folks, poor brown folks
Yeah.
did not have the money, did not have the options to say, I'm just going to go to Canada.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I'm just going to burn my draft card and you're going to have to come and get me.
Yeah.
Well, okay, if you were living in Westchester, maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't come and get you because they're going to have to fight against you and your parents and their money and all that kind of stuff in court.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're black, they just arrest your ass and then you have to be on that bus.
Yes. Happened to me.
Yeah.
If it did, how can we make it clearer than this? If they could take the heavyweight champion of the world, turn him in from 4F
Mm-hmm.
to qualified
Mm-hmm.
just because they want to, and then take his license away,
His
take his
livelihood.
livelihood away,
Yeah.
take his liberty away in that they take his passport,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
can't earn money, can't do nothing until finally the Supreme Court says that was BS.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do to the average black man?
Yeah.
Because
you
here's
gotta go.
the extraordinary black man,
Yeah.
and they did that to him.
Yeah.
So, this is what it is. We can say, gee, I wish it hadn't been like that. Gee, hope we make it better than that. That's all cool. But you can't start off with ignorance of it.
Right.
Be aware of it.
Yeah, really.
It's that's an interesting component of history, right? When we talk about Vietnam, because sending these black Americans here to fight in that war was two colonial movements that happened to coincide, right, in the same space. There was no more conflict than that, right? Like we were really, really seeing it. We're using one colonized people to fight to keep another colonized people in check.
And it can even go deeper than that.
Yeah.
Because we weren't even supposed to be fighting that war.
Right,
if
right.
you really want to talk about it.
Right.
It was the Dutch East Indies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it was called over there. And then it migrated to France's involvement
Mm-hmm.
because they had their colonies
Yeah.
all over the world.
Yeah.
And we said, okay, it's
We're gonna
almost like pro wrestling. We're going to tag team into this.
Yeah, that's what they did. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can keep it. We can keep it all the way. We can keep it all the way 100 real.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have even been there
Yeah.
because it was almost like, okay, these European countries can't handle this, and we're so afraid of China
Yeah.
that we got to tag into this.
Yeah.
And people forget that during the League of Nations existence, I'm a big history buff, so you have to pardon me. During the League of Nations existence, which preceded World War II, which showed itself to be feckless, dealing with World War II, and showed it when Italy tried to colonize Ethiopia and they did nothing, and H.I.M. Selassie went there and said, what happens to us is going to happen to you. And then within years, there's war throughout all of Europe because the League of Nations said, oh, well, if it's a non-white country, we can tolerate this. Well, during that time period, Ho Chi Minh was not a communist.
Yeah.
And he came in and said, look, this colonization stuff is BS. Y'all need to go. Y'all need to live up to the standards that you're saying that you want to put for the world because you're not applying them here.
Right.
And he went around the world looking for help, trying to free his people. And it wasn't until after World War II when he said, okay, here we are now. Y'all need to go. Y'all need to make this happen. Oh, you're going to start this United Nations thing. Cool. You're going to have this charter. Great. We fall directly into this. Y'all need to go. And they said no. And he looked for help wherever he could find it.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about history.
Yeah.
You know, like people, oh, you're like somebody might say, well, Robert, you're a communist sympathizer. No, not hardly. I want bank. I want to be rich. I want to be able to do what I want to with my money. I'm cool with that. I sell my books, you know, so it's not about that. It's about the truth. It's about facts and how they happen. That's what happened.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because like when people look at communism, is that not the most natural, when you're coming out of imperialism, right? You're coming out of being an imperial state controlled by someone else. What form of government could you immediately go to if not communism, right? There is no structure for a capitalist system or socialist system to thrive, right?
My inclination, we ain't even on comics at all.
We're going to get back to the comic, though.
But my inclination is socialism because you look at how it's worked in places like Northern Europe. And if you're coming out of something that's like communism, which is close to them, socialism, which, you know, like the taxes tend to be high, but there's a social construct that also exists that then says, okay, yeah, everybody's going to pay X amount of what they earn, but we're going to have schools that are free.
Yeah.
And we're going to have healthcare that's for everybody. And these other things that are very socially based. And so it seems to me like that would be the direction in which you would work if you're saying, okay, because, you know, America really isn't a capitalist country. We got sprinkles of this, you know, like we got sprinkles of Democratic elements and Republican elements. And I'm using those with small R's and small D's, not parties, nothing to do with those parties, you know, like, and we have some capitalism in there. And believe it or not, there are some things that are in use in communist countries that are also in use in United States structure. So all of these things combine, and, you know, like there are bigger parts of certain things in it, and there are smaller parts of other things, but that's what we've come up with. And so when we try to say that America is a democracy, technically it's a democratic republic, but we still have an oligarchy.
Right.
So maybe the oligarchy isn't strictly based on lineage, but because every once in a while somebody can bump up and get into that oligarchy because they make mad bank, but by and large, it is hereditary.
Yeah, very much.
You know, like there's a lot of stuff in us, and we had a lot of stupid Americans who don't even try to think about this stuff and try to parse what these things mean.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bro T, what were you think would be the natural migration?
Natural migration.
Well, you like politically going from a capitalist-based colonization, because that's what they were under.
Yeah.
And so, and it was very prejudiced, because the Europeans were on top and the people in Vietnam were subjugated in their own countries,
Right.
like other parts of the world and all that kind of stuff. And moving from that situation, what would be natural?
Well, that's why they were decimated. Man, Viet Cong, they went over there and took care of some business, man. I mean, you know, unprepared, and just got dropped in the meat grinder, right? And that's what happened. You know, I didn't really talk to my uncle all that much about it, but when I was talking to him, he gave me bits and pieces of things, but he didn't like to talk about that, and so because he was just
my
saying,
uncle too. My uncle didn't want to talk about it.
No, he just was like he would give me the bits and pieces, you know, as far as people he went, you know, his buddies, you know, people but you know, they lost a lot of people. You know, he was there, man. People lost their lives and stuff. You know, he didn't talk about it, but when he did, what you just said earlier, we shouldn't have been there, man. Right? You know, it's just the bottom line to that. He lost a lot of people, man. Lost, you know, his buddies, man, and he talked about that, and so he come back, man, struggling, man, V8ing, treating him right, you know.
Yep.
He had all types of issues, right? He come back, man, to a whole bunch of problems. It was hard for him to get work, right? He come back, you know. Half of them come back, man, PTSD.
People didn't know about PTSD back then. It was like,
it wasn't.
You were shell shocked. You were shell shocked.
Yeah.
It was shell. Well, you know, he come back, man, with all these different types of disabilities, man, because of that reason, man.
Mm-hmm.
And he, you know, he couldn't function. He had some issues, man. When he had a job, man, he couldn't keep it long, man. He was having all those problems.
Yeah.
And, you know, and people don't understand, right?
And they got no love. Baby killers. They was called baby killers all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and that's something to him, you know, he's like, you know, he had a whole different ideology of the country he lived in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He just, he was not a person, man. You know, he would say things, man, that would, you know, to me, it was almost like, okay, you're not really proud, Uncle? No, you know, because he's not a proud person to say that. He was more a person like, you know, just the people he would lose. He would talk about stuff like that instead of saying how great something was. Yeah. It was just the opposite. It's the opposite.
Yeah. I have yet to encounter a Vietnam vet, and daggone, even if we talk about Iraq or Afghanistan, I really haven't run into a vet who talks about how proud they are about what they did. You know, like they're proud of the people that they fought with.
Yep.
But usually if you start talking about actual stuff that occurred, they just say I did my job.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting angle. I mean, we touched on a lot of historical points. I want to bring us back to the character. So how did you, like, you know, you kind of mentioned your environment, where you were at. What was the character to you? Like, as you were creating this character, because the personality of him comes from you, right? To some degree.
True.
So tell me about your relationship with the character, how you came up with it.
The character started off as a mind worm. There was just something burning itself through me, and I sat down and I started to illustrate who became the Roach. And it was a very iconic thing that I was drawing in my dorm. And I had an open door policy where, you know, like if I was drawing, I'd leave the door open. So if somebody wanted to wander in, they could. You know, like some artists have a problem drawing in front of people. I got over that when I was young because I figured if I'm good, people may always want to watch, watch you draw.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not good, then they aren't going to want to watch you draw.
Right, right.
So it's kind of an acknowledgement that your stuff is decent, that somebody wants to watch you. And so I just took it as a compliment, and I would leave my door open, and a couple of my teammates came in while I was working on the Roach's illustration. And they watched for like about 10 minutes, and one of them, I forget who they were. I'll give them shout outs. One's named Tom Putchley, and the other is Dino Merlina. And one of the two, because they were like bookends as far as the two guys are concerned, and said, what kind of a character is he? And I explained, he's anti-hero. That's what I think, because I had no story for him.
Mm-hmm.
And one asked, well, what are you going to call him? I was like, well, I don't know. It's got to be something dirty, something gritty. That's what I'm feeling. Even though he's wearing a nice 3-piece suit and stuff, I'd like his name to be almost the opposite of the image he's projecting, because he gets down, he gets dirty with it. He's no holds barred kind of dude. And they watched for a little while longer, and one of them said, why don't you call him the Roach? And I was like, oh man, no, man, I don't feel like explaining to people that he's not me, and to do that eccentric, and I don't even want to deal with it. And they were quiet for like about a minute more, and they said, are you embarrassed by your name? And I was like, no, you guys know me, I'm cool with my name. And they said, well, if people don't understand, F them.
I like that.
And I was like, well, I don't even want to go through the explanation and stuff. He said, okay, is it if your name wasn't Roach, would you call the character the Roach? And I said, yeah, it works. And they said again, well, then F them.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're right, F them. And the character came out.
Yeah.
So then fast forward, next semester, writing course, total writer's block. Can't come up with anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a paper due the next morning. This is way back before you had word processors and stuff like that.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
What you had to do, whatever you wrote was there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just going to wander. And I'm wandering through the dorm. I'm getting into all kind of mess here and there and everywhere. And suddenly, some said to me, go back to your room and write. Some grabbed me. Go back to your room and write. And first I was trying like, no, I'm having fun. I was having a good time. Just hanging out. And it would not turn me loose. So I was like, hey, I got to go. And I went down, sat down, started to type in a story, and almost just typed whatever was coming out. Got me an A. It was interesting because in that class, it was like a master's. You either had to be an English major or working on your English master to be in that advanced writing, that advanced creative writing course. And so there are a bunch of people in there who are big eggheads. And as far as they were concerned, I was just a jock. The professor didn't feel that way. The professor and I were cool. His name was Professor Werner. And I would go and sit at the back of the class, and I take my notes back there or whatever and just be innocuous. He read the story. In fact, I was late to class. He waited until I came to class that day, and he would always read some of the things he thought were noteworthy from the prior week. And mine was the last story that he read. Finishes up, and I'm still sitting at the back of the class. I'm not saying nothing, and he's not saying nothing. people in class start to discuss the writing. And, you know, like I really liked how it felt very immediate. And, oh, it was very, very atmospheric, and oh, this, that, and that, and this, and all the, you know, like the syntax, and, you know, I was just sitting back there, and the professor was looking at me grinning. I'm like, whatever. These people don't pay my bills, so I don't care what they say. And finally, a lady who was there working on her master's turned to a guy who was a Vietnam vet who was could come back to college on his GI later in life. And she turns to him and says, well, what made you do this in your storytelling? And he said, well, I didn't write it. And she said, you didn't write it? I thought you wrote it. Said, no, I thought so-and-so wrote it. So they're ping-ponging around the classroom like, didn't you write it? I didn't think, well, nobody looks at me. Nobody looks at me. But they're like, oh, but you did it. And so finally, again, not looking at me at all, they turn to the professor and they say to Professor Werner, who wrote it?
Yeah.
And he's looking at me like, are you going to say something finally or what? And I finally said, I wrote it. And man, it was like 20 cases of whiplash in the room. You wrote that? I said, yeah. And I started to answer their questions about structure, about grammar, about creative choices I made and that kind of stuff. And they're wigging out, yeah, you know, I'm the only athlete in the room. I'm the only Black person in the room. I still wrote a story that's set in that time period with a white guy and all that kind of stuff. And so that's the origin of the character visually, how the visuals led into the writing. So in terms of my character that came into him with that as his foundation, I never really thought about me that was in him. I thought about me that was not in him. And so obviously they're going to be like maybe his not take any BS attitude. Now he takes it beyond what I would. I'm not just going to shoot somebody in the head because of that, but I would have to say that an ability to have some type of a moral code, willingness to take people as they are, and even though I'm not tolerating any BS projected onto me, still allowing people to be themselves as long as they're not trying to hurt other people. A willingness to learn more and continually learn. I think those aspects of me exist in the character as a Roach, but he still is he's a product of the early 1900s. So he smokes. He's a character set in the 20s, so prohibition is happening, but he probably drinks. One thing I did with the character that I thought would be really cool, because I thought Marvel really screwed up with Wolverine, is he has no origin. I intimate some of the things that I believe he has encountered. Like I do make him a young soldier during World War I, and I make reference to that. I make reference to him having traveled the world after the war was over, and this means that he had money. But he's not a Batman. He's not doing anything like that, because the Roach is the Roach 24/7. The Roach, in fact, there are two scenes I'm really, really happy about with that story. One was we see him with his love interest, who's also a prostitute. And they wake up, well, she wakes up the next morning expecting that he has left already. and she discovers that he's still in bed. And when she rolls over and looks at him, he's still wearing his mask. He's buck naked, but he still has his mask on.
Yeah.
And I thought that would show that the dude's a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But in this regard, it's not crazy in a way that's dangerous. It's just like, man, you can take your mask off when you woman, but nope, 24/7. Later, after Willie McKinley saves the Roach, because I wanted in his first arc to show that the Roach is human. He's mortal. He can be hurt, and he gets shot in the back, and Willie McKinley helps him escape the situation he's in, and takes him to his house so that he can recuperate. And when he's having a discussion with Willie McKinley, like, Willie says, "I recognize you." And the Roach reaches for his mask to see if his mask is still on, and his mask is still on. And he said, "No, no." And Willie says, "No, no, I'm not talking about that. And I probably wouldn't recognize you even if I had taken it off." And Willie asks him, "Do you ever take it off?" And he says, "Never." The Roach answers, "Never." And Willie says, "It must be hell to take a shower." And the Roach says, "Nearly never." So I'm trying to play around with the character in that regard, because he is who he is all the time.
Yeah.
I figure he'll either die being the Roach, or at some point when he feels like his mission is done, he'll go on to something else. But while he is the Roach in this time period, he is the Roach, and that's all that he sees himself as. I thought that it was a big mistake for Marvel to give Wolverine a solid origin, because now you can't imagine and you can't project your ideas about who he is as a character onto him, because we know his name was Jamie. We know that he was born in the 1800s and he was a mutant and all that kind of stuff. And they did some really, really stupid things in all of that. But you can't unstupefy it, because the stupid is now baked in. So none of that with the Roach. Menthu, solid foundation on his creation. Something else I'm working on right now, Ethereal, which is my version of a Conan type warrior in a prehistory. It'll be on my I'm developing a Patreon right now. It'll be up and running in the middle of next month. He has an origin. And the story takes place strictly, the first 2 volumes take place strictly in Africa and in Asia. And he's from Africa, what I call the Nagrisha. And there's a whole big story behind it. A lot of story. Lot of story. And he travels. He's the first person to travel throughout the known world at that point in time. He has a story. He has an origin. The Roach, I'll intimate who and what he is, and I'll tell you who he is right now, but I'll never tell you that this is how he started and this is where he was born and these are his parents, and nope, none of that.
That's an interesting. Okay, this is a mysterious character. Now, I don't know about T, but Menthu has been sitting on my mind. This is an impressive looking character. I was wanting to get to this guy. Tell me about this guy, because when I see him, what CBT and I talked about was we're seeing the expression of character in this guy. Tell me about this character here.
Love him. And you guys are the first ones I've ever really said that I love this character. He's cool. I think he's a blessing in terms of the creativity that I was fortunate to come across to mold this character. And I think it was I think it was cool the way that the character was developed. And I'm just talking about inside my own head as it was going on, because I think as creators, we all have that moment. And when I say creators, I'm not strictly talking about writing something or drawing something.
Mm-hmm.
If you are an intelligent and innovative mathematician, you are a creator. If you are an instructor who brings the best out of children, you're a creator. You're an artist. You are molding lives. You're doing better than I am because I'm just entertaining people. Somebody who does that type of stuff, an artist of education, is that person is molding the lives of the future.
Yeah.
An artist of science is going to space as an astronaut. I'm just drawing goofy characters and writing goofy stories.
Yeah.
But the character started when I was listening to I was in the 90s and I was listening to a CD by a group called Material.
Mm-hmm.
Not Material Issue. Material, it's a band that's headed by a guy named Bill Laswell. And he's been around for a while. In fact, Bill Laswell was the guy who produced Herbie Hancock in the 80s when he did all of his rocket stuff.
Yeah.
Right as Herbie was ready to, he said, I was ready to retire from music. I was tired of doing all the stuff I was doing and I was just doing the same old, same old.
Yeah.
And Laswell came to him with the stuff like Rocket and Future Shock and incorporating scratching and all that kind of stuff in what Herbie was doing. And that rejuvenated Herbie Hancock. And this guy, like I'd been listening to his music for a while, and he did a CD that was narrated by William S. Burroughs, and it was about Egyptian thought and the history, the religions, and all these types of things. And you know how something resonates, but you know it's not ready?
Yeah.
That's how I felt about that, about listening to that. And I knew there was a story there, but I wasn't ready to tell it. And so for the next 6 years, I did research. I got things like my own copy of Book of the Dead, Who's Who in Egyptian Mythology, Architecture of Ancient Egypt. I got these things, and I knew I wanted to do whatever I did with some degree of integrity. I wanted ancestors to look down on me and say, okay, he didn't screw that up, or at least he didn't screw it up on purpose. And I figured I would go into the headwinds rather than try to turn my sails and go with the winds, especially as people and friends, well-meaning people, said to me, hey, everybody knows Anubis. Everybody knows Osiris. Everybody knows Isis. Everybody knows Onuris. Why don't you just use those names? And I said, because it's not accurate. It's not genuine.
Yeah.
And no, I am not going to call Waset Thebes.
Mm-hmm.
Thebes is a place in Greece.
Yeah.
This is Waset. That's what it is. And if you don't like me calling Kemet that by its proper name, well, then this is not the story for you.
Oh, here we go.
And so that's what I did. And as I have learned more things, like Brother T stepping to me with the fighting styles, and possibly incorporating those moves and reference to those moves in future chapters, yes, apply it. That does, see, okay, y'all gonna go.
Hold on, Roach. Before you go further with that,
go ahead, man.
He and I have been talking, and we shared a lot about the story of Menthu, and of course the combat styles. That we had talked a lot about the importance of Pankara Shen and what it is as far as ancient Kemet is concerned. Because again, you and I have talked many times about calling things by its proper name. So that the proper name you speak brings power, brings energy, brings this thing. That's exactly what it's all about. So when you say Waset, that's City of the Was. Remember I talked about everybody calls it pharaohs. We talked about that, right? We talked about what their true names are. Because if you just walk up and say, "Hey, brother Ramses, man, how you doing?" He want to know what you're talking about. Wait, hold on. What did you say? Right? What did you just call it? Right? But if you using his
Why
proper
you call me
name,
out my name? Why you call me out my name?
thank you. We talked about. They mentioned about King Tut. No, I said his name was Amen Tut. So if you say Amen, see, certain heads turn. Like if you call your proper name, certain heads turn. If you had the name wrong, is he trying to say he talking about me? You know, so yeah, proper names brings that it's the number one respect thing. It's an ancestral thing, and it brings a certain level of energy, power when you're speaking a name, right? For you to speak a name of your ancestor they live again.
Yeah, yeah.
See, that's how important that is. So
Yeah.
Menthu is that example.
Yeah. Now, Siva T says something important that we want to know. Okay, we talked about all the artists, and what you do is something special because we get to talk about powers, right? We get to talk about a comic book character. Tell me about his powers. What does he do?
His powers. Well, I try to make sure that this incarnation of Menthu is based on what the original Menthu was based on. And the character just spoke to me as I did more and more research. There's so many things that were unique about this particular immortal. First of all, he's a sun god. And at his peak, he was arguably Kemet's most important sun god, eclipsing Ra. And the reason I say that is because when Waset was the seat of power, and people forget that at the Temple of Karnak, part of that is dedicated to Menthu.
Yes.
And so how do you get that powerful, that the most powerful city during that Middle Kingdom, where the seat of the government is here, and like, where do they find most artifacts? They don't find most artifacts inside the pyramids. They find them in the Valley of the Kings.
Yep.
So here's where all this stuff was really jumping off. And in this place, this dude was number one.
Yeah, yeah.
And so much so a number one that and this is part of my storyline, so I really took this for a reason. Menthu was so powerful that, and how I project that pantheon is based on some of the stuff that I read from my studies in the Book of the Dead, the Tale of the Two Sailors, and that kind of stuff from the research. And in those, the character of Ra is kind of feckless. He's powerful and stuff, but as his cult is fading and Osar's is rising, he has a problem with that.
Yeah, okay.
And so now you have Menthu, who's as powerful, but in this one place, but Ra has his following throughout the country, and so there's a tug of war. And because of that, in reality, the cult of Menthu was absorbed into Ra's.
Okay.
That happened, and you have the composite name and all that kind of stuff. However, usually when a composite is made, the more politically or socially important immortal's name comes first.
Yep.
However, whenever you see Menthu and Ra refer to each other, it's Menthu Ra.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not Ra Menthu.
Yeah.
Menthu Ra. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So what was happening that, okay, the cult of Ra absorbs Menthu's cult, but Menthu's still top billing.
Right.
How, like there's a story there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just projected my imagination to that pantheon that, okay, there was a political back and forth, and for there to be peace, Menthu is asked to discorporate, but he sets it up so that there could be some type of revival of who and what he is. Now, Menthu in my storyline is not simply him reborn. And if I get a chance to tell the further story, you guys, I'm gonna blow your minds. I just got to get out to that point where I can run until I can tell it. Because I got something for you. I got something for you that will have that. But in the meantime, my idea, but T, you read issue 7 that I sent to you.
I did. Yeah,
and it has the 8-page short story at the back.
It's been a little bit, brother. So
okay, there's an 8-page short story there where I have the Egyptian immortals battling the Akkadian immortals.
Okay, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Okay.
And the way I wrote it, and it's funny how I wrote it, and it's almost played out. The 3 amigos in that, if you would, are Menthu, Anhur,
Mm-hmm.
God of War,
Mm-hmm.
and Ampu.
Mm-hmm.
These 3 are best friends.
Yeah.
And so, like when you flash forward, and Ampu helps Anhur in reviving Menthu's essence, but he needs a vessel to do that, and he has a son so that he could do that. And this son is the guy that you see back there. And the son thought that his father had died when he was about 7 years old, but really Anhur had to go back to the pantheon, or else people were going to keep looking for him, going to try to find him, probably mess up his son's existence and all that kind of stuff. And so when Rashan, the character's name is Rashan Nshanga, and so when Rashan comes of age and graduates from college, and he finds out a little bit about his own personal heritage and what that means, it takes him into the Egyptian pantheon so that he can learn that his dad isn't dead, and that he also is an immortal, and he has the mantle of Menthu. That takes you up to him. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as Menthu's powers, I felt like I really had to say that to really get into Menthu's powers. In terms of those, it's, again, based on what was. He was a sun god, but he was also a god of war.
Mm-hmm.
It's clearly delineated.
Clearly, if I just jump this, can I just say this? I mean to cut you off. Listen, every time we talk about Menthu, you know that's my dude. That's my dude, man. He knows that's my dude. See, every time we talk about him, man, I get excited, man. Listen, we know he take care of business like he's supposed to, and that's what he's doing, man.
He's not just a sun god.
Thank you.
Just flying up and projecting rays.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not just a war god, because he has some type of responsibility. He has an overarching responsibility. He has both these.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a sun god, he gets down and dirty. You know, he's going to take care of his business. And as a warrior god, he embodies the abilities of the sun. And I'm giving big shout outs to good friend, great writer, Hannibal Taboo, because Hannibal also, he said, hey, can I play around with Menthu a little bit more? And I said, cool. And as we played back and forth, we started to really develop him. And as we go, there's a 3-part story that I really hope that we can get done I really, really, really want to get it out there. And most of it's done. As far as the character is concerned, we said, let's not stop with what was known 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, in terms of what light can do. Because light is a ray, but it's also a particle. Mm-hmm. It's a wave and a particle. Mm-hmm. So let's make sure that Menthu's powers incorporate this. So in this three-parter that we've done, we have him taking light and making solid objects out of it and wielding it as weapons. Like, boom, he hammers this one demon with solid light.
Yeah.
Boom, flattens him.
Yeah.
And he's making things, because people forget how light works. Your eyes, okay, this is the teacher part of me, because I also teach art. And when I'm talking to my students about art, I remind them that our eyes and our minds do some really things. I'm coming back to Menthu in a second, so don't think that I'm going away from him completely. Our eyes are actually picking up what's not there. The color that's not there is the thing that we see. So not trying to be goofy or anything. That's it. And we're taking in these waves into our eyes, and what's projected on the back of your eyeball inside is actually upside down.
Right.
They've done tests where they'll have a person wear glasses that flip reality. So what we think is the ceiling is all of a sudden below, and what we think of the floor is all of a sudden above. Mm-hmm. You can check it online and you'll know I'm not lying. They've done these tests, and after 72 hours, your brain flips everything.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because your brain says, this does not make sense to me. This does not make sense. That I recognize that to be a ceiling. It must be above me. And your brain flips it.
Right.
So now, as you're wearing these glasses, the ceiling is the ceiling again, and the floor is the floor again. And as soon as that person takes off those glasses consistently, their eyes, because their brain has flipped things, see it upside down. And it takes another 3 days before you adjust again. Okay, why even talk about all that? Because this stuff being projected onto the back of your brain, back of your eye, is based on the light that's refracted into your eyes.
Right.
So there's so much power between those waves and how your brain is processing all of this information. Why are we just going to limit him to heat bursts and that kind of stuff in terms of Menthu? So yeah, we have him making things invisible, because if he can control light waves as a god that can deal with light, why can't he do all this other stuff?
Yeah.
And in a sense, light can be both a wave and a particle. Why can't he make that solid and bust somebody upside the head with it?
Yeah.
In addition to, I call them sunbolts.
Yeah.
In addition to sunbolts, in addition to his own intrinsic power.
Yeah.
Because as a war god, he's a powerful god.
Yeah.
He's physically powerful, and he can fly. And I have a story where I have him going. He's flying into outer space, but he can hold his breath. He can't live in space, but he can hold his breath and he can exist there. Why not? He has that intrinsic power within himself.
Yeah, I like that.
So
yeah,
when you ask me about his powers, this is the arc of those powers and how I hope to present them in my storytelling.
Okay, so for our purposes, because we still love just talking about comic books, if I'm trying to power scale him, and I got Menthu, and I put him up against a known commodity like Green Lantern, how does he rank?
Um, okay. Of course, I'm gonna say he's gonna win.
Of
because
course.
he's my character.
Yes.
But and that's fair to say about every writer, because like somebody asked, how can Black Panther beat Silver Surfer?
Right.
Well, because Dwayne McDuffie wrote it in there.
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah. The power of the pen.
So
yeah.
He beat Green Lantern.
He beat Green Lantern.
And the reason he would beat Green Lantern is because he might not know Green Lantern's. He might not initially know a Green Lantern's weakness. I don't care if it's Hal Jordan. I don't care if it's John Stewart. I don't care if it's Guy Gardner. I don't care if it's Jaime. I don't care who it is. They all have the same weakness. They have the yellow impurity. I'm Menthu. Oh, I've noticed that whenever we're dealing with yellow, you guys got a problem. Cool. I glow yellow.
Yeah.
I make my body glow yellow. Let's keep fighting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you got for a brother? What you got for what you got for this yellow?
Yeah.
Oh, I can use my willpower and I can create a vice. What the vice going to do to me? I'm glowing yellow.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying right now?
He wins.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Superman. What would he do with Superman? Like Superman will be much more powerful, much faster than Menthu, the way that he's written.
Okay.
But Superman is dependent on the yellow sun for his powers.
Right.
As a person who has control of the sun and the powers, if I extract that power from your body's cells, Superman, because I got this control, all of a sudden you get weaker and weaker and weaker, and you're just like immortal.
Yeah.
But see, you see what my problem is?
What say to me, boy?
My problem is with Superman is, I keep saying, how can a person absorb sun, man, and you got very little melanin? This is you ain't got no melanin.
Why you starting mess, man?
Yeah. That's what he does. That's what he does.
Why you starting mess?
I had to put it out there.
Mess.
Yeah.
I had to put it out there, brother. I had to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, fair enough. Fair enough. But, like, the lack of a tan aside, Menthu would take him out. Okay, let's imagine Superman is beating him. He's beating him. It's like, and, like you can't kill Menthu because Menthu's an immortal and he's beating him. And all of a sudden Menthu realizes, like, hold up, I sent something in here. You got a lot of sunlight in the molecules of your body. How about if we take some of that out?
Yeah.
How about if we take a little more out?
Yeah.
How about if we take all of it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now what are you going to do?
See? And here's the thing, man. Here's the icing on the cake. Menthu, right, is one of the powers of Black Adam. See?
Please don't start no mess, man. Yeah, I know.
Bruh, come on, man.
Yeah.
He's one of the powers, man, of Black Adam.
Yeah.
A Black Adam is unstoppable.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing with him, man.
Yeah.
Superman cannot handle Black Adam, man. He smashed him.
I keep trying to tell
Especially
people.
since, in terms of Superman's reported weaknesses, it has to do with magic and the supernatural.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, okay, here's the thing. Black Adam, man, has the powers, man, of the nature, man, of Kemet. This is the powerhouse, okay, of, I'm sorry, black people. Okay, this is the powerhouse, right? There's a shoe, right? Haru, I mean, you're going down the list here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you're talking about Menthu. Menthu, man, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah. All that fighting
as your
all
anchor,
that training.
His M is the last one in the list.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so that's your anchor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It takes the other Shazam and Superman to fight Black Adam. They jumped the man. They jumped him,
man. Yeah, they did. That was wrong.
They jumped him, man,
Yeah.
because he's too powerful, man. They jumped him, man. We talk about Superman and Shazam.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yeah, they wasn't ready for it.
This is how bad Menthu is.
Yeah,
unstoppable, man, when it comes to take care of business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. See. Okay, I'm gonna stop. All right,
okay. We haven't hit the audience up with where can they get the books? So we want people to go out and get exposed to this character. So where can they go and get the book series like right now if they heard this episode?
Locally in LA, they're in comic shops everywhere from Santa Monica to the Inland Empire. It depends on your shop. Outside of that, if you holler at a brother at Facebook, because we are constructing our Square site. So within the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to go and order from Black Ink Imprints at Square. I can just do the transaction there. Brother T hollered at me online and said, "Hey, where can I get these books?" I said, "You can Venmo or Zelle me the cash, and I'll have them in the mail to you." And I trusted him. He was sending them. He was sending the cash. I put them in the mail the same day. You got them within about 3 or 4 days? Right? Yeah. He got all of them. That's how I handle my business. I don't need a negative reputation. I try to handle my stuff appropriately. That's how people can get them. Because you can find me if you want to IG or tweet me. I'm at Goki Buddy Artist. That's G as in George, O-K-I, B like boy, U-R-I, artist. Goki Buddy Artist at either of those places. And you can holler at Robert Roach at Facebook and find me there. Holler at a brother. Menthu issues 1 through 7. If you get all 7, forget what it was. It was like, I think it's $20. But I need postage and stuff. And I sent you the that special that we had too, didn't I, Tinas? The extended one. That's the one that I want to turn into 8, 9, and 10. And we have a bunch of other stuff that's supposed to drop too, if we can get that out. So that's and the Roach in terms of swag, like the shirts. These shirts, 25 a piece, 50-50 cotton. And they're completely silkscreen, no wire, no iron-ons or anything like that. That's available. That will be available at the Square space. The graphic novel is available there for $20, or you holler at me. The graphic novel with the Roach is what I won the inaugural Rising Star Award from the Glyph Awards. Those things are available there. And what's coming up in the middle of next month will be my Patreon site that features my character Ethereal, which is that prehistory warrior that is just kicking ass and going all the way across the known world. So, but if I got into Ethereal, the story is even longer than the Roach or Menthu, so y'all ain't got time.
We got to have you come back. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I got to get that 1 through 7 from Moms. Moms is a collector. And I wish I had talked to you last week, because she could have been getting them for Mother's Day instead of the flowers that I sent her, because she would have liked this a whole lot more.
She'd have had it.
Yeah, she'd have had it. I told Siba T, man, like, she put us on the shades. I put Moms on the shades of Memnon, and she was like, "Look, where's the 3rd book at? You messing up my flow right now." So Mom's is 100% into it, into the culture, and definitely loves it. So I'm personally going to get these. Okay.
Okay. Please, you know how to get with me. And I don't want your mom mad at me.
Yeah.
We do have 8, 9, and 10, but we just got to get the funds so I can get them inked and colored, because
Okay.
I look at them and they look great. I like my pencils in there, but I'm like, no, I am a perfectionist. My stuff has to look a certain way, and this must be inked. But if you, you'll see more and more. In fact, I'll make sure that both you brothers are completely updated as I put more and more stuff out there in anticipation of Ethereal.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys, you like, you guys, the world's not ready for it.
Bro, you gotta do me right on the Menthu shirt, man. I gotta get a Menthu shirt.
Still got them. Oh man, and we're running out. So yeah, I'll let a brother fast. Hold on, I have to ask my wife real quick. Bokurawa XL to L shika arimasen ka?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, yeah. We only have XLs and Ls left because we're running out.
Oh, you know what I need? 2X, bruh.
You see this dude back here, right?
No,
We're gonna turn that into a t-shirt.
Hey, there
That's
we
what
go.
I'm waiting
That's what
on.
we waiting on. You got 2 orders already ready coming in. All right, 2 XLs to get
Got
on
you,
the 2
got you,
XL.
got you.
So I can
Got
wear them on
you.
the show. Look, I've been repping every episode. I rep somebody's. So this is right in the wheelhouse where we want to be at.
We
Yeah.
support, and
Yeah.
We'll have this dude.
Yeah,
We
that's
will
what
have.
we want.
We
That's
have
what we want.
right now. We have the one with Menthu kicking. We call it Menthu kicking, and that's the XL and the Ls. And this will be everything from XX through medium. So
Okay.
and what we did with this shirt is we have women's cuts also.
Right.
So if because we heard ladies saying, guys' cuts make me look boxy, and then I said, okay.
Yeah.
And women's cuts cost more than men's.
Yeah, they do.
It's wild.
It's a tax.
It's insane.
The pink tax, right?
But we did it.
Yeah, the pink tax. Well, definitely. Look, thank you again. I have to thank CBT for bringing
Thank
us
you.
all together so we can get into this. We've taken up a lot of your time, but I definitely want you to come back. CBT, did you have anything you wanted to get off before we let this gentleman go?
Again, brother, like I said before, man, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate that, man, and just sharing, your history, man, and your work, and what you do. Just keep us posted, man, on everything that's going on. And like Kareem said, round number 2, man, we're to have you on, man, talking about these, the other characters, man. And so we like to do that too. So
I was told to do the selfless plug thing real quick.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is the nice artwork.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Absolutely.
See?
Absolutely.
Very
That is beautiful.
nice.
Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Hey man, y'all don't. You'll have a primer to Ethereal, but Ethereal is y'all.
We're about it.
You already know, man. All you gotta do, man, is just inbox. You already know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just inbox me,
Hit us up.
We'll do
Hit us
so.
up.
We'll do so.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you again, gentlemen. For everybody in attendance, thank you for stopping and checking out. I'll have this up on the website in tiny bits for you guys to consume. Thank you again. Robert, we definitely appreciate you bringing these characters to us again. We'll look forward to meeting with you very soon. CBT, I'll talk to you soon, my brother.
All right.
Take care, brothers.
Thank you.
Lovely hollering at you.